chapters into this book, and I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't expecting this. But I feel so annoyed, and this book is irritating me a little bit, which I really was not expecting. Okay, let me explain why. First of all, the writing style. Okay, so the writing isn't bad. Okay, I've read bad writing before, and the writing isn't bad. However, the author uses an excessive amount of adjectives, in my opinion. Okay, all this is my opinion, by the way. It's just my personal thoughts, my subjective opinion. Way too many adjectives, way too many similes. You can tell that she's really trying to go for beautiful, lyrical, floral writing, and it's just not working. Like, you read it in some books, okay, where you have writing like that and it works, but it doesn't work all the time, and I feel like this is an example of where it doesn't work. And there's literally a page where it was like the final straw for me, because it was just you know, some writers, how they try to repeat the way they write stuff to make it impactful. So here the author writes, she had a tea house to return to, she had a contract to pay off, she had Atlanteans to serve. Okay, all one line after the other in space rather than like next to each other, the sentences, if that makes sense. That was fine. Okay, that's fine. But then 2 pages later, we're introduced to Zen, which I believe is the main character, the main male character rather, and I just can't stand. There's a lot of Zen did this, Zen did that, so Zen drew back as though it burned. Okay, that was fine, but then there's a part on page 26 to 27 where literally across those 2 pages I can immediately spot 5 sentences where it's Zen did this. So literally, Zen had a guest, the same person who left a trace of yin energies in the air. Zen brushed a hand over his black silk pouch, the scroll stored safely inside. If only he could speak with the old man. Zen knew practitioners much more proficient at spiritual summonings than he. Okay, and then half a page later, Zen leaned forward. In the darkness, the old man's eyes were still open, his face frozen in fear. The moonlight blanched his white skin, the hin colour of morning. Zen slipped his gloves back on and blah blah blah. I don't know, that was just too much for me. And the thing is, I quite liked the dialogue. Okay, I read the dialogue and I was like, okay, it's not bad. There were some parts, a few pages, where I actually did enjoy it. I actually did find it quite, you know, captivating, and I got into it. I could see the book play out in my mind essentially. But then the author went back to their writing, and that I just can't stand. It works in some books and it just doesn't work in all of them. And I think, you know, good writing, at least for me, doesn't mean floral writing, like excessively floral writing that you can tell the author is trying very hard to make their book a well-written book. A book can not have such descriptive paragraphs but still be well written, if that makes sense. I just can't stand that writing. It's just so many. This is on the first page and I was like, this is actually quite nice, I quite like this. So it says, but in rare moments like this, when the sun hung ripe and swollen as a mandarin over the glittering sea, there was still a shattered glass beauty to be found in the remnants of a conquered land. Okay, that sentence, you know, quite like that. It was first page, but then as you read on, it's just a lot of writing like that that's not nice. So where is it? Something about the heartbeat was the clink of coin, its lifeblood the flow of trade, its bones the wooden stall of marketplaces. It was a place of survival. Actually, to be fair, that one is fine. That one is fine. This one, the interior was dim, that spilled into this, the entire looked like an old painting, you know, papers patched in, and it's just, I can't even describe it. But basically, long story short, to be concise, the writing is too descriptive, in the sense that there's way too many adjectives and adverbs and similes, even within the first 20 pages, way too many, that it's starting to annoy me a bit, because it's not well written. It's there just to be there, so that it's like it's a lyrical writing, but it's not lyrical. For example, Murakami, he has very lyrical, beautiful writing, but his writing is not excessive, in the sense that it's not excessively floral, and there's not an excessive amount of adjectives, adverbs, or descriptive stuff. But then there's like writing where it's like this, where they think it's lyrical and beautiful, but it's not. It's just too much. And when it's so much like that, at least for me, I find it really, really, really difficult to envision the book in my mind. And I'm really sad, because I really, really thought I would enjoy this, and I'm 3 chapters in, and all I'm feeling is frustration. Maybe I might give the Hurricane Wars a go. I don't know, we'll see.
Your whiskey knees, the lights were dimmed as our eyes met, and you saw me, and forevermore I like to share that vintage dream.
Finally, I'm so happy. I read about 10 to 20 pages of a few of the books in my book trolley, and I wasn't really feeling them. They're, it's a good story and they're quite well written, but I just wasn't in for that story. So I picked up Son of Blood and Ruin, and I just read chapter 1, and I'm really into it. Surprisingly, I'm really, really, really into it, and I am captivated from the first chapter, so I'm very excited to read this, and it's actually really good. I'm quite surprised that I'm enjoying it. I didn't expect myself to like it, because I think I heard some people say that it's not a good book, it just looks pretty, but you know what, I'm liking it, and the writing is good. The writing style is actually good.
Table, your whiskey needs, the lights were dimmed as our eyes met, and you saw me, and forevermore I like to share that vintage dream, and forevermore we're living in that vintage dream.
I am 38 pages into Son of Blood and Ruin, and I am loving it so much. I honestly wasn't expecting this, simply because, I think I said this already actually earlier, because I heard quite a few negative reviews about it, but I love how it's fantasy with a bit of historical fiction vibes and a bit of romance. I don't know why it gives me historical fiction vibes, but it does. It really does. I need to research into this book and see if they're based in real historical places as opposed to made up names. I'll need to search that and get back to you, but it does have historical fiction vibes, and historical fiction is honestly one of my favorite genres, so I am loving it.
Dancing in slow motion, blurry eyes, but I've had enough, it's time to say goodbye. 3 a.m.
I
finished reading Son of Blood and Ruin, and I don't know where to begin, simply because I truly enjoyed this book so much when I first started it, but as I went through the book, particularly halfway through the book, I found it a little bit boring and I just wasn't enjoying it as much, and I didn't really want to read it or pick it up. I still finished it because I was curious, but I'm not gonna lie, I did read the last 40% of the book quite quickly. I think the writing is beautiful. The plot, okay, the writing, is it beautiful? I don't know, but it's good writing in my opinion. And I think the book itself, if you get the Fairy edition, is beautiful. But if we're looking at the content, then I think the first half is beautiful, but the second half is a bit like so. Therefore, I would recommend this book if you're really into fantasy that's mixed in with a bit of historical fiction and a lot of action and not much romance. But if you are looking for a romantasy, for example, something that's heavy on romance or a bit of a light-hearted fantasy, then maybe you wouldn't enjoy this book as much. Overall, I think I will give this book a 3.5 stars.
So I dream on to sound before